Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Madison, Milwaukee Downtown Series, our first of the quarter here this year, where we try to bring our two downtowns, the two largest downtowns in Wisconsin, closer together through collaboration, which hopes to lead to growth and investment. I'm Jason Elster, president of Downtown Madison, Inc., and I will be your host for today's panel discussion on material and labor shortages, how we're responding, and how we can all work together to overcome these challenges for the wider region, but in particular for our downtown. We have an excellent panel discussion today with some leading experts as to how we can work through these major issues for our downtown. Before we begin today, though, we want to say a huge thank you to our partners and our sponsors of today's event. They are the series sponsors and with us all last year and are again with us this year. We have the Reinhardt law firm and Bolt Construction Company. We're so excited to have them here. And to say a few words on behalf of our friends at Reinhardt, we have Joya Wojdarczyk, an associate here in the Madison office of Reinhardt. Good morning, Joya. How are you today?
I'm great, Jason. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Joya Wojdarczyk, a real estate associate attorney with Reinhardt, a full-service law firm with multiple offices, including in Madison and Milwaukee, and a proud sponsor of DMI's and Milwaukee Downtown's Madison and Milwaukee Downtown Exchange. So as we all know too well, the last couple of years has brought new challenges to the forefront of all areas of our lives, including our downtowns. And Reinhardt is committed to assisting our clients, supporting our downtowns, and sparking collaboration as we all kind of traverse through this ever-changing landscape that we live in today. So on behalf of Reinhardt, I would like to thank you for being here this morning. I will now turn it over so we can hear from our panelists that DMI and Milwaukee Downtown have in store for us, so we can start today's conversation about the future of our downtowns.
Excellent. Thank you, Joya, and thank you to Reinhardt. Thank you to you, Debbie and Nathan and the teams both in Milwaukee and Madison. You all do amazing work serving on our board of directors, really helping build the downtown. And I'll give Nathan Wadier, our most recent past board chair, all the credit in the world for coming up with this great event. We're on our fifth total, I guess not fifth year, just second year, fifth total. And it's been a great experiment for us to bring the two downtowns closer. All right, we've got our great friend, Jeff Neeson, who is the group president of central operations for the Bolt Company. They've been really important here today, helping us put this panel together, because these are two issues that are very important for them. So Jeff, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Jason. Good morning, everybody online with us this morning. We are a proud sponsor of this downtown Madison, downtown Milwaukee collaborative and the forum that we've been putting on. Bolt is a 132-year-old fourth generation family and employee owned company. We do about $1 billion worth of work every year in 17 offices. And the two we're proudest of, two of our most successful offices are right in Madison and right in Milwaukee. And we're really excited about the program today and being able to understand what some of the constraints are with doing business in the current environment. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jeff. It's good to know that we're one of your favorite offices here in Madison, but you also said that about Milwaukee. And I'm sure you say that about all of your offices. Thank you to the Bolt Company for all you do to literally help build downtowns throughout our area. All right, DMI, Downtown Madison, is not here on our own with this discussion. It is a joint effort between our friends at Milwaukee Downtown, Bid 21. And we have the amazing CEO, Beth Weirick, here today to help kick this event off. Beth, how are you doing this morning? Oh, we got you on mute, so you're just staring at me.
Okay, you'd think I'd have that down to a science by now, right? How many times have you heard that? But thanks so much, Jason. I'm really super grateful for you and your leadership and your energy around this. And Matt Dorner, our Economic Development Director, and Reinhardt and Bolt, thanks so much. You know, I caught myself thinking this morning, if this wasn't going on virtually, what would our attendance numbers look like, right? Like if we were meeting at the Pine Cone. Well, I think the Pine Cone has new ownership now, right? But like how many of us would be there? So there is some joy in us meeting this way. So thanks so much. And really looking forward to hearing from some of the experts around material pipelines and workforce pipelines. You know, we've all been talking about some of the buzzwords going on right now, right? You know, I mean, it's like supply chain and the Great Resignation, and I think no matter what, I'm hoping to learn a lot from our experts today, but also I think it's going to reinforce the importance of the work that we do, Jason, because no matter what, our workforce has to live somewhere, right? And so I think creating high quality communities is going to remain significant, but certainly looking forward to the perspectives that we're going to hear from our panel of experts today. So thanks everybody for being here and for convening this conversation.
Well, Beth, thank you. Actually, I'd love to ask you one more question about, so we can set the stage and why this is important for downtown. What are you seeing right now in downtown Milwaukee with the struggles, particularly in labor, in hospitality and material as well? How is that affecting your downtown?
So from a really significant perspective, obviously, you know, we've been fortunate, just as Madison has been fortunate, in that we, even through the pandemic, are attracting development, whether it's residential, hotels, of course, the Milwaukee Tool Building, Rexnord just completed their construction. And so, of course, material delays are always going to impact the openings of those, right? But then from another perspective, we've all learned through this pandemic how important connection to community is and the way in which we convene as community. And, you know, we've got our performing arts venues, our Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra just opened. Of course, we've got our Pabst and Turner theaters. We have sporting venues, of course, our restaurants and our pubs. And there is definitely, without a doubt, a workforce shortage. And we knew this before in the hospitality industry. You know, we were talking about that a little bit today. The war for talent never went away, right? But unfortunately, I think the impacts of the pandemic and the struggles of, you know, parents who are wondering what they're going to do with their kids when daycares are closed, when schools are closed, when there are temporary closures due to exposures, you know, all of this impacts the way in which our communities function. And both of our downtowns are, you know, 18-hour to 24-hour downtowns. And when we have a workforce shortage, we're seeing examples of, you know, some of our restaurants that have always been open for lunch and dinner. Now they're only open for dinner, or now they're only open 4 or 5 days a week. So those are just some of the examples of the whys, the why that the material and the labor shortages are impacting all of us and our entire economic ecosystem.
Well, absolutely. I think your last point is, look, these restaurants are closed set times, but then you also sometimes just find this note on the door saying, we're closed today, because they just did not have enough labor to get through that shift. That's just one example. But Beth, way to set the agenda as always. We are so thankful for your partnership with the Milwaukee Downtown Bid 21. You, Matt, the whole team, Rebecca, you guys are doing amazing work. So thank you. All right, so on to our panel discussion today. We have some excellent panelists here to help us wade through these important topics. Before we get to the panel, though, I want to note we do have time for question and answer at the end. So if you have questions, please do submit those either through the chat or through the Q&A function. So send in those questions and we will make sure to ask those at the end. So today's panel is starting with John Emmett, who is the Milwaukee Market Manager for the Manpower Group. We also have John Huggett, the Vice President and General Manager with the Bolt Company, and Andy Inman, who is in Arizona right now for work. So we're all very jealous, as it was 0 on my way in today. But Andy Inman is the Vice President of Development with the North Central Hotel Group, and they're fortunate enough to have hotels in Arizona. Once you'll see the rising sun over his shoulder as well. So you can definitely see he's in a different time zone than we are. And then last but not least, our good friend here in Madison, Lisa Johnson, the CEO of BioForward. BioForward is a collective voice for Wisconsin's robust and comprehensive biocenter, a really important employer here in Madison, and in particular, downtown. All right, so we've got some questions for the panelists here to get us kicked off. The first question is, the big question, right? How have these material and labor shortages really affected downtown Madison and downtown Milwaukee? Beth has started to answer that question, but Lisa, we would love to hear from you and a little bit more about BioForward, but really, why is this issue so important and why is it happening right now, both material and labor shortages? Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. Now, do you want to put up my slide or? And why Jason's bringing that up, I would just also like to say thank you to Jason and Beth for coming together, collaborating. I'm a big one that, the only way we can advance this state, it is not about just Madison, just Milwaukee, just Eau Claire, just the Fox Valley. It is coming together collectively. It's the only way we can compete with the rest of the nation. So I thank you for doing that, and the sponsors today for making this happen. I just thought it might be beneficial, since some of you may not know BioForward. We are a 501c6, meaning we can advocate on behalf of this biohealth cluster. And you were all going, oh, what's biohealth? I'm used to biotech. We use this term and just think of it as we have these major research institutions. The University of Wisconsin-Madison is one of the top research institutions in the entire world. We also have an outstanding research institution, the Medical College of Wisconsin. So you start with that, you go down to products that go into research, companies like Promega, Aldevron, that can filter into that. Then you have therapeutics. You have companies like Sterling, PPD. There's a company called Catalent. They do testing and manufacturing of therapeutics and vaccines. All of those kinds of entities are the kind of this life science biotech that everyone talks about, biosciences. But as you get into medical device like GE Healthcare, entities like Versity in Milwaukee, you see digital health companies, and then our healthcare institutions. Those are all in the healthcare area. And so we combine the two and we call it the biohealth cluster. Maryland has done this a lot. And I think it's a really good term because it really talks about the strength of Wisconsin, not just a small biotech. So what does BioForward do? We kind of encompass then this industry, and again, we advocate for it. And we really say this is all about the integrated health solutions, that all of these entities come together and to advance healthcare in a entire world. So what we do then as a nonprofit is we position the industry and we also promote the industry in those varieties of areas that I'm showing. And advocacy is certainly a big one. But you also see where we have talent investment. And that's really why they pulled me in today, because our industry, as Jason was saying, is growing massively. And I show some of the economic impact at the bottom. And I will be putting our economic impact study into the chat box. So as you can see, we have 28 billion in state economic impact, and our average wage in this industry is 79%, as it states, above the overall industry in Wisconsin, 46,000 direct jobs. And the thing about this industry, it has a huge multiplier effect. So as we talk about these other entities that are also joining this call today, this is the multiplier effect that this industry has overall. So the thing about our industry right now is that it is just growing again massively and expanding, and it's awesome for the state. I've been in this industry since 1989, and what used to happen here was a company was bought, like my company, and after a while they would move it out to California, move it out to the East Coast. But ever since about 2010, 2011, what you're seeing is companies are saying it's too expensive to be on the coast. Now we see how Wisconsin is a better place for us to expand and grow here. Companies like Illumina, we talked about GE Healthcare, Catalent, PPD, they're all expanding here rather than taking their companies elsewhere out of Wisconsin. Unfortunately, so it's a good thing, but unfortunately, just like everybody else, we need talent desperately. And the one stat when we were writing a grant application last year is just since the pandemic, our job openings have more than doubled. It started at 500 in 2020, and then it was over 1,000 as of October 2021. So it certainly is having a major impact on us that we cannot get talent into the state. And so when you see that talent investment sitting on our slide, is that BioForward and our members are reinvesting into a national talent campaign. We've been doing it for 2 years, trying to change the perception out there. Because when they think of Wisconsin, they don't think, talent then doesn't necessarily think about coming here. And we're fighting against a lot of states, whether it's North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas. They all want this industry. They know how vitally important it is to have this industry. So we're up against a lot. And so, you know, as an association for this industry, we know we have to make the investment. And we really hope that our state really recognizes how we have to go out nationally to change this perception and use an industry like the biohealth industry to change the perception of Wisconsin to attract talent from other places in the United States. So there, long-winded answer on there for a slide.
Well, no, I think it's really important in talking about not just the losing of the talent, the shortage right now, but how we have to continue to attract talent. I think that's a really important point. I want to stay on the labor side of things and go next to John Emmett with Manpower, right? Who is, you know, a company that works directly in the labor pool. John, you know, what are we seeing here? How are these labor shortages affecting businesses that you're working with?
It's great. You see the signs, as we talked about earlier, in the window where people aren't enough to run a full shift. The other side that we're seeing is if the materials aren't coming in, then there's not enough work for the employee to work. So you have that circle where you don't have enough, and then you're having a supply chain disruption, and it makes it challenging to get labor. And we're seeing a lot more of associates choosing health over work. It used to be if you had a sniff or a cough, you rub some dirt on it and you went to work. Now it's more focused on, hey, I'm not feeling well, I need to make sure that I'm good. And so we start seeing a more focus on the employee taking care of themselves. There's the more flexible the business is, the more quality worker, and the more the associate wants to come in and be there. So we're finding a lot more if the employer is flexible and willing to meet some different demands, whether it's a hybrid work schedule if they can, some at home, some in the branch, some in the office, that it's a lot more successful and it's a lot more team cohesive, or where the employee feels they have a voice now. So as we see more and more of that happen and the wages raise up, you know, the end of minimum wage, there is no minimum wage anymore. It's more of, hey, what's a living wage, or what's the wage to be there? The more we see success with our clients and companies around.
You know, it's interesting. You bring up a lot of great points there, John, about how the pandemic certainly has changed the labor workforce in general. And I think a lot of these changes are going to remain for quite some time. Now, I want to pivot to both two companies, North Central and Bolt, who work directly with the labor and the material issues. So we're going to start with John Huggett, who's got some really interesting data about how this has been a problem. The labor shortage, well, material, but the labor shortage in particular has been a problem for several years. And how companies like Bolt, who with lots of workforce, but also have material challenges, how you're getting through it, John?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Jason. As Jason pulls up the slide, again, this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but in our industry, in the construction industry, we've seen this upcoming pending wave of aging workforce, and we have a workforce that requires a significant amount of training on site to be able to do the tasks and in different trades that training happens on site. So what you see here, just briefly, from the time period of 1992 to 2020, you've seen the increase of the average age of the construction worker. And I would argue that this would probably mirror many industries, but extending up from 37 all the way to 43. And this is in the context of some slides that are down below, which are really describing the supply and demand. So construction spend peaked in 2008 at that $1.2 trillion of spend, and then it dipped. And then we've been on the recovery here, and we're now to the point of $1.6 trillion. And the final graph down on the bottom really shows that total workforce. And so the construction industry lost a significant amount of workforce following the recession in 2008. And we have not yet come back to, we're just approaching the levels that we had in 2008, but we're trying to do another the difference between 1.6 and 1.2 trillion dollars. So it's a pure supply demand. So we knew this going forward. So the question is, what do we do? And I think what we've really put focus on is looking at what are different, unique, innovative approaches that really are more efficient with our labor that we have. Really focusing on modular solutions off-site, really bringing the construction into the factory, into a manufacturing warehouse setting, and learning from our manufacturing industry to be able to increase productivity. In addition, as mentioned before by some of the other panelists, really focusing on retention. And this is something that we've had been very fortunate. Our retention rate last year, I just looked up our statistics, both in the Madison, Milwaukee market, we're at 95%. And then across our company, we're just over 91%. So these are really strong indicators in the war for talent of what our company's doing in order to retain the best and brightest. And these are a couple strategies that we really focus on from a labor perspective, and then we can talk more about materials as we continue.
Well, John, I think that segues perfectly into our next. We're going to ask Andy Inman with the North Central Hotel Group, who is building hotels. And I would love for you to preview two projects you're actually building in both of our downtowns right now, or about to build in Madison. So we'll get a quick update as to those two great projects, and then how you're dealing with this in the hospitality industry, both as a developer and in your talent, right? I mean, every day it has to be hard to figure out, do we have enough housekeepers? Do we have enough staff to run the front desk? So love to hear first about your new two hotels, and then second about the challenges you're having with labor and material.
Yeah, I think you've got a couple slides there. Good morning, everybody. As you pull those up, I'll touch on two things, as Jason kind of alluded to. Number one, our development enterprise and how we are seeing challenges both in material and labor with our development pipeline, and then our operating portfolio and what some of those challenges are with the labor market. But this first slide here is a project that we hope to start in the next 2 months. That is the Moxie in downtown Madison. It's in the 800 block of East Washington Avenue. So it's just a tremendous block with the Sylvie and some of Otto Gephardt's developments, Bree Stevens Field, a lot of really exciting things happening on that block. So for us, the Moxie is a fun, young, kind of millennial hotel. They call it for fun seekers. So it was just a great fit for that block of East Washington Avenue. And then the other project we've got under construction right now, and got some actual real-time data from the last week or two in terms of what the material and labor shortages are doing to pressure the construction cost for the trade Milwaukee. So that's the slide you're looking at right now. This is a project under construction. It is a 207 key hotel across the street from Fiserv Forum in the Deer District. So this project we started back in August, and we're really seeing real time the impact of construction cost inflation and challenges with the labor force, getting manpower, as John alluded to the job site and maintain the production schedule. We just bought out last bid package. We're in the course of doing that. We received bids. We're in the course of buying out that bid package, and we saw a 10% increase over the budgeted amount. The budgeted amount, when we put that together, had ample construction cost inflation built into it and contingency, because we knew it was coming. It wasn't a surprise, but Milwaukee is being hit tremendously hard. Some data, I think it was from Mortensen, who does surveys regionally throughout the country, had Milwaukee at a 20% year-over-year construction cost inflation. So you can imagine, even though you do all this stuff and build contingency into your projects, when it comes time to buy out, if you're at a 20% increase year-over-year, that makes things very challenging. So we've gotten creative. The neat thing about this project, as you look at the trade, it's actually an autograph hotel. So you come up with your own brand. You're required to hire a branding consultant and develop an authentic brand to the city of Milwaukee. So the trade is truly branded after not just the construction trades, but really celebrating how things are made, such that rich, gritty spirit of downtown Milwaukee. So the fortunate thing we're able to do with the trade is we can work with those construction materials and get creative on value engineering to figure out different ways to build the building with common materials, make common materials look exceptional. So this is a really fun project for today because it allows that creativity. The last thing I'll touch on real quick, specific to this question on material and labor, is our core business of hospitality. If you look at our operating portfolio, going back 20 months, we actually had to lay off over 50% of our hourly team members. And that was very difficult for us as a company. We're fortunate that we've been able to bring back all of those team members that want to come back, that we can still find. Some have gone to other industries or left the workforce, but what we're really focused on now is some things that other panelists have talked about. John has mentioned it. It's really that workforce retention. How do we invest in our team members and build around them to retain them and continue to recruit a vibrant workforce? I had dinner with our ops team out here in Arizona last night, and they talked about some of those challenges, but now it's how do we keep them healthy? We're having tremendous challenges right now as we kind of peek through Omicron of getting our hourly team members healthy and at the hotels to work their shifts. So it's requiring flexibility and some creativity in how to staff for those peak demands and some of the health challenges.
Well, I'd be remiss, Andy, to ask, what's the temperature right now in Arizona? I'm jealous here.
You know, it's either 70 or 71 every day on this trip. So I'm not sure today.
I'm so sorry that it dipped down from 71 to 70 yesterday.
Yeah, well, I did bring a coat, so I'm okay.
Well, you are Minnesotan, so you'll get the cold here. All right, all of you talked very at length about the past challenges. I would love to hear about where do you think this is heading? What is sort of the near and long-term challenges, both in labor and material? What are you all predicting in the next sort of year to the next couple of years in your industries? And anyone can answer this question.
I'll go.
Lisa.
So I still see continued major expansions. But again, as we were talking about these challenges trying to attract talent. So unless we are having very strong, cohesive messaging about Wisconsin and how we can compete, again, not just on the coast, but you know, I keep bringing up the North Carolina, South Carolina. It about kills me when I say South Carolina is beating Wisconsin sometimes, because I think what I am seeing is as we try to attract talent in here, the things that they look for, especially younger talent, one, they want strong public education. They want supportive university systems. Beth brought up the arts. I wanted to bring that up. They also want to see that there's strong communities. It's vibrant, whether it's wellness to creativity that Beth was bringing up. Young people want to feel good about this world. And so they want to know that it's a stated community that values people, their communities. And so those are trends that we are seeing that we have to do a better job of marketing that, and that it's important to us in this state. That public education, I see we've had a message from the tech colleges. Those are vital important. So I just to bring in our chat comment, we also need that entry-level lab technicians. We need to have our tech colleges funded. And our industry has to do a really good job, better job of also focusing with our tech colleges. And so those are things that a lot of states, they don't have this. And then we don't promote it enough, and then we don't back it enough also. So, you can beat the Texas and the South Carolinas when you start to put that out there. And so I think those are trends that we're seeing of the importance and that messaging that we have to be better at in Wisconsin, but then at the same time also support it. So, Thank you, Beth, for bringing the community. I just how important you say downtown, but it's just important for all of our communities and the state. And that's a definite, one trend I just wanted to bring up.
Lisa, I just want to couple that and acknowledge what Beth said earlier. It's so important. Our downtowns are so important for keeping talent and recruiting talent, right? The young talent wants a robust place. They want to be near the trade and be near the Deer District, and they want championship after championship. Bucks and six over for six. Let's do Bucks and 6 years in a row. But having that amazing Deer District, or the area that Andy mentioned about the Moxie Hotel, right? And the Sylvia on the same block, right? The starting block, the incubator. And right across the street from Bree Stephen and Forward Madison, up you goes. That is key to retaining and recruiting talent. What else, John, Andy, other John, multiple Johns, John Emmett, what else are you seeing sort of long-term here with these big issues on labor and material?
So one of the big ones we see is the existing workforce is upskilling your current workforce, to invest back into your people to allow them to go to a tech school, paid, while they're getting paid to learn so that they can go to the next level within the company. And now you can rehire someone to replace them and go through the same process. That if we don't take those times to invest in upskilling and getting the talent shortage or the skills gap corrected, we're going to wind up with a lot of openings and not the qualified staff to fill it. So the more we invest in upskill and develop those relationships with universities, with trade schools. I was at a workshop not too long ago at several large universities, and one of the hiring manager for a large engineering firm said to these 3 deans of colleges, I need an engineer that can speak finance, because I'm never going to get someone in finance to speak engineering language. But if I can get an engineer that can speak finance, I will pay that person a mint. So being able to have those conversations with universities, trade schools to find ways to upskill our current force will greatly enhance labor shortages and help us to become more successful and companies more successful.
I think from to Andy's point on and I see in the chat also on the construction increase in spending, I just saw an AGC report as well that was really showing the gap in the cost of raw materials versus the bid pricing, or what you're seeing. And what you're seeing is actually more of a greater increase in the cost of materials than actually what's being incorporated in the bid. So that spread actually is starting to erode profits at the construction level. But I think back to the supply chain is really getting this under control to be able to close that gap, to be able to continue to reduce costs to the customers so that they can make a viable business decision on the cost of investing into our downtowns and our communities. And that's really important. Just a quick anecdotal story. I was in the drive-thru at Starbucks and I see a sign on the wall. It said, please be patient with us because the materials might not all be available. But they didn't stop there. They didn't say, sorry, we'd be happy to make a recommendation for you on a substitute. Thank you for your patience. And I think all of us can stand to maybe learn something from that, even in our industry. So it's not, and it sounds like Andy experienced that with being creative and providing alternative solutions to materials. If there's a material that's got a 20-week lead time, is there a substitute material that has a 6-week lead time? So something along those lines. And I think in the past, these material lead times issues have been reserved to those that are building projects or those that are in the manufacturing industry. But the reality is it's hitting all of us now. And it's just how do we respond and how do we be creative and adaptable to provide essentially increasing value for our customers, whoever they might be.
Yeah, one thing I'll add to Jason's question is, our view, the new paradigm is here. So we all need to adjust to it and work within it. So things like flexibility in the workforce and things like that we're hearing about, and it's not a surprise to anyone. But one of the creative things we're doing as a executive management team, we're actually rewriting our business plan this year. Instead of a outward-looking advisory board of directors point of view or perspective. We're actually turning it around, and we're writing our business plan for our team members, showing that commitment to our core values, growth being one of them. What are we going to do to invest in our team members and give them some of that additional training, growth opportunities, career ladders, things like that. How can we be flexible in our workforce? And it's one thing for someone in our corporate office to have flexibility in hours or days or work remotely, but to do that, to be able to do that at the property level with our hourly team members of maybe you can come in and work the shift between these hours. You know, those are the sorts of things that we're having to pivot to adjust to what we think is the new paradigm.
So speaking of changes, I think I'm a half glass full person, for those that know me. You know, there are silver linings to what has happened. Obviously, this has been a really tough year for many people, significant amount of lives lost. But in the labor and the material market, maybe we've thought of things differently. What do you all think is the greatest innovation that has come out of this time period? Because you've also hinted at these innovations and how things are changing. But what do you think what's an innovation that you think will last?
I mean, from our industry, it's the shift to off-site prefabrication modularization. We just finished a fully modular hospital project in Grafton, where literally the project was built entirely off-site in like a Lego block and shipped to the job site and craned into place and sealed up. So while that's not applicable for every project, I think as companies continue to learn and develop those skills, it's going to continue to drive pricing down and increase that speed to market. And those are the two items that all owners are looking for, cost reduction and speed to market.
One thing I'll add as far as, silver linings is over the last 20 months, hospitality obviously was hit extremely hard. What we found, and this is not new, but just a reminder perhaps to everyone, is the importance of our partnerships. We would not have survived, we would not have been able to maintain our development pipeline, start construction, or even talking about starting construction on projects this year without those tremendous partnerships that we have. They got creative along with us. They were very vested in seeing our development pipeline continue to move forward and grow. So we would not have come through the last 20 years or 20 months without those great relationships and partnerships. And I think for me personally, that is the silver lining coming out of this and looking forward is to really recognize and invest in those partnerships.
I guess I'll just add on innovation in the sense of and we're all dealing with this right now, is the flexible workforce. Certainly for our companies, it's very difficult. Mostly these are lab positions. Maybe you're talking 60% lab positions. So those have to be in the corporation, right? That has to be live. They can't be, in their homes doing it, obviously, but they do have a whole workforce that surrounds the lab workers. And again, we're all dealing with this, is how do we make this as efficient as possible? And then maintaining a culture, again, that's really difficult to maintain cultures in corporations when half your workforce is working from home, the other half is in the lab. But I think the companies are getting innovative on how they do that and maintain a culture and when they can bring people together, which right now it's not always easy with all these variants, but I think there's a lot of good that has come out of this. And they got innovated certainly besides just the workforce, our industry, and I had a lot of articles go out last year. They jumped in, whether it was Exact Sciences, Medical College of Wisconsin, GE Healthcare, everyone. They rapidly addressed this pandemic, and we had a lot of companies that were vital to our recovery, to having vaccines, that without a lot of these Wisconsin companies, who knows where we'd be. So you know, that was innovative. That was innovative that they had to just pivot instantly on forget all of our other products, how we only can combat the pandemic. So it's really not that part isn't as much of a talent issue as more of a survival issue for all of us. But I think those two things are areas that really proud of our industry on trying to make all of this work. And again, I know everyone's dealing with this flexible workforce, but it's really hard where you have half of your workforce in a lab and then this other half isn't. And that's also it takes a lot of innovation to manage that type of workforce.
Well, we've seen innovation. Example I heard last week from a local downtown company, a spirit company, State Line Distillery, pivoted in last year and made hand sanitizer. So from gin to hand sanitizer, all in one fell swoop. So there's some innovation. All right, I want to go back to Lisa actually on this next question and get everyone else's answers as well. What did Wisconsin do well during this time, and what can we learn from other states? So the other best practices in other areas, other downtowns that we can really learn from to keep moving forward.
Well, I think what we do well, I've already mentioned it with Beth, I think we're very community oriented here. I think people feel a sense of purpose in our cities. And I think a lot of people can learn from that. I think we are very much on a foreign educated workforce, and that's a lot to be proud of. There's a lot of great messaging that we have, and we have great downtowns. I mean, these are amazing cities. So I think honestly, I think we do that pretty well. And I think those images, we use that all the time with our cities to attract talent here. I mean, those images are all over our website. That's important. Those visuals are important, but it's what goes underneath there. And, investing in bike paths all around Dane County, that's important. Those things are what attract people to this state. That's different than a lot of communities. Again, I mentioned it before, I think there's just messaging out there, and that needs to change that. And I love agriculture. I love it. I love manufacturing. Our industry is even manufacturing. But I recently, John wanted me to bring this up. I recently talked to the president of Miras, a new president, one of our companies, and he's from Sacramento, and his friends just said to him, what do you mean you're going to Wisconsin? There's nothing there. What's there? And so those perceptions reside, especially on the coast. And I say the coast all the time because the reality is for our industry, we've got to pull them out of there. And people are looking, they can't afford to live there anymore. But what other states do better, and I've named them already, is I keep hearing time and time again that company, they looked at Wisconsin, they looked at North Carolina, they went to North Carolina, went to North Carolina, went to North Carolina, because they promote this industry over and over again. This is the place you should put it. Even though we have a stronger research institutions here, even though we have extremely powerful, broad aspect to our industry, where they're more pharma oriented, those states make it known they are, and I'll say life science industry be here. And our state has to help that advertising push. And it's not just our industry. We need to come across as a tech state as well as an ag state. So I think other states do that much better.
And I think some of that's the personality of the upper Midwest. So roll up the sleeves, just get it done. Don't look for recognition. Just move forward. And I think in response to kind of the pandemic and us moving forward, I think those are all very, very good qualities that allowed us to move forward. And I think of all of our frontline workers who, again, as referenced before, that whether they're in the lab or in the service industry, they can't work from home. So I think the silver lining is really just the appreciation for those that we really rely upon within all of our industries and businesses that show up every day, that put in the work, that do the necessary work to make our businesses thrive and grow. So I think from a silver lining about what we did well, we roll up our sleeves, we get things done.
Okay, Now, this is a dangerous next question, but this is our last question for the panel. So if you do have questions as an audience, please send them into the Q&A or the chat. We've got plenty already, but send those in. We're going to be answering those questions in just a second. But I'm going to ask all you to make a prediction about what will be the biggest impact in your industries in 2022 when it comes to material and labor. So what do you see moving forward? I know this is really difficult to do because things are changing literally every day. But where do you see 2022 for construction, for hospitality, for talent recruitment and retention, and for the biotech industry?
I'll go first. Speaking for hospitality, revenge travel. I think we're all tired of being cooped up. We're all going to go out and travel in 2022. How's that sound?
If they come to downtowns, I'm all for it. Revenge. That's a new term we've used a lot today. The great resignation, pivoting, but I like that, revenge travel. What else is everyone else seeing?
I'll go. I think you're going to see a lot more investment in the current workforce to retain what we have and to hopefully grow with more. But I think there'll be a greater investment in the current workforce to keep building them up.
I think in the construction industry, it's continued pressure on that supply demand curve where we don't see the supply waning here. And again, really relying, as John mentioned before, on those partnerships. And I think those that really have excellent partnerships are going to do well continuing into 2022 and well beyond.
Yeah, I think they all said it really well. I think it's investing in the cultures and maintaining, it's funny that our companies will complain about one another. Hey, they took my employee, they took my employee, they took my employee. But actually, that's a really healthy ecosystem that we have such volume here. And so I think our companies are really trying. They're really looking at diversity within their workforce, how they can do a better job. It had been brought up earlier on professional development. That is important to other companies. It's really making these investments in different ways in their employees and knowing they have to do it because now it's this national competition. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that and wanting, I know our companies are also saying bringing people together more. They're asking BioForward, can we have some more networking? Let's get people out of their houses. It's fine to have these flexible, but my God, we don't even know how to socialize anymore. So can we bring people together, go to downtown, what events can we keep having that are bringing people together? And that's why, Jason, we always have our summit at the Overture Center. We want to be downtown. We want to be bringing people together. We want people to see that that downtown is what keeps these cities vibrant. So I think that's what we're all saying right now.
Well, Lisa, thank you for supporting the Overture Center. We appreciate it. And all these companies, everyone does so much for our downtowns. All right, we got time for questions and they're coming in fast. I want to start with a very interesting question. Are any of the panelists seeing any influence of the quote, urban fleeing that people are talking about in the workforce? Any suggestions on capitalizing on this concept? And are we actually seeing this happen?
Well, I can comment a little bit. That's really interesting. So we have a lot of young people coming in, right? They want to be downtown and in apartments, but we also have a lot of families that are now going out to our rural districts that they're going, I work in Madison, I love it, but now I want to go outside. I want to have some acreage. I want to have my chickens. I want to have, it's kind of interesting that and if that's what you're referring to, is that they want maybe some small town in their life, but then they want to come into Madison to work and experience other things. But we've certainly seen that with a lot of our workforce have gone outside for some of the family time or housing, and then come into Madison to work, if that's what you were referring to, or whoever asked it.
Other thoughts from others?
I think when it comes to recruitment of new talent, it's really about listening and understanding what they value, and then trying to determine as an organization, can you flex to what they're looking for, and trying to find those kind of win-win situations. And that really challenges some traditional thinking. And I think, again, from a silver lining from the pandemic, I think challenging traditional thinking on what was right is okay. And I think being good listeners will help us to retain really quality, attract and retain quality employees.
You know, actually, I got to say there was a follow-up to urban fling too, that the speaker was asking about going to other cities like Chicago, San Francisco. But I have to say, you know, just from our vantage point, we're seeing real growth in housing in both Milwaukee and Madison, significantly in Milwaukee, some massive towers. I actually just counted yesterday. We have about 2,700 apartment units in construction or in the entitlement phase right now in downtown Madison. That's a 10% growth. We have 34,000 residents in downtown. So we continue to see cities like Madison and Milwaukee to be quite popular. And we think we're going to continue to be popular. We have great talent here. We have great quality of life, and something that Lisa, Andy, everyone really discussed. I think that that's a really important factor for this. All right. Let's see. Got plenty of questions here. Wanted to thank the panel for all you do. The community, I think John Huggett nailed it on the head on labor shortages, where the union carpenters started with the recession. A silver lining is our class of apprenticeship this week has an average of age of 19. So there are more people coming into this. John, is that positive? Are you seeing a trend of more people coming into construction?
Certainly, I think this is a direct result of our industry's focus and pre-apprentice training opportunities in the high schools, the promotion of the trades. I think you're starting to see that much more. Rewind a dozen years ago, you might not have the career counselors that are in high schools maybe recommending the trades as much as they are now. So I think there's an awareness in the industry. And again, I think that bodes well. But again, we're all competing for the same talent, and which is really interesting. And again, I think industries that really present themselves as viable, vibrant, exciting, challenging are going to attract the best and brightest talent. And I think from the construction industry and the amount of technology that is starting to be incorporated and problem solving, I think people.
Oh no, we might have lost John there for the last second. I'm sure he was going to make a triumphant last point. All right, I've got a question probably for Lisa, but maybe even for John too, from our friends at the Milwaukee Area Technical College Foundation. What do you see as the new opportunity for partnerships with technical colleges for employers? Lisa, you started to mention this for sure. Apprenticeships or cooperative education relationships with tech colleges. Tech colleges and business industry can be creative and ideal partners in building the diverse talent pipeline now and for a 4-year degree.
Yeah, we highly depend on the technical colleges for talent into our industry. They are fantastic. My companies, we always hired out of the technical colleges. And, you know, we applied for a grant last year through the WDC DOA. We didn't get it. And then one of it was working with the Milwaukee Technical College to get their lab technician program going. So it is vitally important. We have outstanding technical colleges in this state. So again, we also recognize in the industry, can we step out? You know, it's easy to complain, right? It's always somebody else's fault. But as an industry, we also have to look at ourselves. Can we do a better job of working with the tech colleges? Madison College was awesome. Again, this is a big stem cell community. They implemented that program years ago. That was vitally important in getting talent into many of our companies. So we agree that, you know, we have to continue to look for more ways to partner, and, you know, hopefully we can get some kind of grant going forward. We can get more money. Again, more investments to our technical colleges would be great for us and for them.
Yeah, and Andy, I just want to pivot that question to you. I know North Central and a lot of the hospitality partners have worked extensively here in Madison with Madison College, right, to build that pipeline of talent, not just to build new talent, you know, younger talent coming in, but to keep those maybe line level to become managers and move up in their careers. How has that been important for your retention of talent and trying to attract new talent?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Madison College, they've been great partners for us, and we're involved. Our CEO is involved in presenting some of the curriculum. We're involved in scholarships, things like that, to really make that connection with the hospitality program at Madison College and other universities, frankly. But you're absolutely right. Then it's about bringing them in and giving them that growth opportunity. And hospitality, fortunately, has ample opportunities. Most of our executive team and many of our GMs, they all started as a GSR working the front desk or in a different department, housekeeping or something like that. And they're able to climb that career ladder. And as long as we're investing in our team members and showing them that growth, we're finding good retention with them.
Yeah, I think that's a really important to work with the technical colleges. We've all got great. I know John and both Johns do that as well. We are at the end of time though, but I do want to amplify Andy's point. I started as a bellman in hospitality and worked my way up to become a GM. So I was very, very thankful. That is a great industry. Why I made it about me at the end, I have no idea, but I did. So now I'm going to pivot very quickly to our friend, Beth Wyrick. Beth, what did you think about today's panel? From what we've heard today, and how can we continue to move forward and with these two major issues of labor and material shortages in our downtowns?
Yeah, first of all, Jason, again, thank you for your effort and energy. And, I think anybody who came up in the hospitality industry, I did myself as well. What we learn is those skills are transferable to almost any industry we can take that job into. So I'm glad Andy brought that up. I do want to just comment about that several years ago, we advocated with the transition of employee MKE and kind of looking at the possibility of them focusing more on the hospitality industry, right? Like hospitality and retail. And they have done that. And I think it's time for all of us to re-engage in that effort. It is a good career path. And I think many people have always looked at it as, well, low paying jobs or what have you. But I think from that perspective, we need to do a better job of helping people understand what that career path can look like from an entry-level position to learning more on the job training and additional support. I love the trends and the predictions that we're seeing. I think, well, number one, what do we see from Wisconsin, right? And that's our ability to be resilient. When problems come up, we don't cower away. If anything, we dig deeper. And I think we all want to race to find the solutions, and we just get if you will, like really energized around that. And we've heard it from a variety of industries today that we're going to dig deep. We're going to be resilient. We're going to be innovative. I love what John was saying about, the modular solutions, and not only providing more efficiencies, but doing it in a way where we're providing a quality product. And then I also love John Emmert's, the idea of multidisciplines and the idea of, once again, the possibility of growing a career for maybe a decade or more with the same company, right? Because we are lifelong learners. And what I'm hearing here is the more we're stimulating and engaging our workforce and creating that culture that's important to them for this work-life balance, the higher our retention rates are going to be. So I love that. And Lisa, I could hug you. I thank you for the messaging around how important community connectivity is, whether it's arts, culture, centers of wellness and well-being, community connection, those spaces that we can all be without obligation, as Chris Sosha likes to say. We can all be there without having to buy something, but we're there and we're connected. And I think just the variety of things to do, our nightlife, our arts, everything, we're all going to continue to compete. And regardless, I do think some of us have forgotten how to socialize, but I think we're hankering for that. And I love the revenge travel. I think it's fabulous. And I think there's going to be revenge socialization as well. So, but it'll all be, because we're from Wisconsin, it'll be about pragmatism and balance. But we're going to dig deep and we're going to continue to have fun. So another big takeaway for me, Lisa, is, we are so fortunate, and I say this all the time, our state has the best of the best of the best of the best in this country. Fresh water, strong work ethic, value systems, integrity, innovation, resiliency. We have two phenomenal Coors for that, and many other great downtowns and main streets across our state. But let us forget about the humbleness for a minute. We've got the product. Let's sell it. Let's all work together collaboratively to get more people here to the great state of Wisconsin. I can't thank all of you enough for your inspiration today and instilling hope and faith and, just reminding all of us what a great state we have, what great cities we have. And Jason, my God, if we could just bottle your energy, you're amazing. And I have enormous gratitude for you. So thank you so much.
Well, Beth, thank you. That is the perfect last word. You are the best. To John Emmett with Manpower Group, to John Huggett with the Bold Company, Andy Inman with North Central Group, Hotel Group, and Lisa Johnson with BioForward. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To our sponsors, Bolt and Reinhardt, thank you very much. We will be having another one of these great MSN MKE downtown exchanges in the second quarter. Check out your email for some announcements soon. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Beth, for the amazing partnership. We'll all see you downtown with a bunch of shopping bags in your hand. Support downtown as much as you can. Thank you all and have a great rest of your day. Bye now.